We spent a day in Transnistria, a little-known self-declared republic located between Moldova and Ukraine. It has its own flag, army, currency, and even government. Yet, it isn't recognized as an independent state. In fact, officially, it's part of Moldova. When we arrived, we spotted what looked like Russian troops at the border. That's not unusual since Russia still supports them. In 2006, a majority of Transnistrians actually voted to join the former Soviet Union. You often see both flags flying side by side too, showing just how close they are. Anyway, after receiving our visa, we were finally in Tiraspol, the capital. Honestly, we were expecting to see a city frozen in the 90s. We heard so many stories about Transnistria being a forgotten Soviet time capsule, cut off from the world, no Western brands, barely any internet. Turns out the reality is way more surprising. Tiraspol didn't look very different from any other city in Eastern Europe. It was extremely clean with lots of dated architecture, but otherwise it looks fairly modern, well maintained and organized. There's also Korean beauty shops and cinemas showing the latest movies, which suggests Tiraspol is a lot more connected than we had assumed. Plus, we saw a ton of Tesla cars for some reason. But as we explored further, we started to notice things that set it apart. For instance, most international credit cards don't work here, and we had to exchange currency at the local bank to buy anything. Another quirk is that Sheriff is everywhere. This company practically runs the economy here, owning supermarkets, gas stations, banks, media outlets, and even property. Many locals appreciate the convenience, but some see the company as too powerful. The breakaway state is also like a living Soviet museum. Some parts really feel like a place where the Soviet era never fully ended, such as this giant mural of the first human in space and Russian astronaut Yuri Gagarin. We started our guided tour at one of the city's most important memorials. It's dedicated to those who died in 1992 when Moldovan forces clashed with Transnistrian separatists. You'll find an Orthodox chapel, names of those who fought for the city, and even a military tank that was part of the battle. Memorials like these are common in former communist regions, and later in the day, we passed yet another one in a nearby town. Unlike many ex-Soviet towns, Transnistria isn't shy about embracing its USSR heritage. In front of the Parliament building in the House of Soviets, there are statues of Vladimir Lenin. He founded the Soviet Union and influenced communist movements around the world. Many places have toppled and destroyed their Lenin statues, but not in Tiraspol. There's even a street named after him here. Another famous local figure is Alexander Suvorov. He can be found on the one Transnistrian ruble banknote and was an 18th century Russian general who founded Tiraspol in 1792. His statue sits proudly on the main boulevard. Our guide then took us to a little bookstore where we could pick up a souvenir. Between magnets of Bruce Lee, Putin, and Stalin, the wife chose Suvorov just to be on the safe side. But Transnistria isn't all about Russia or Soviet nostalgia. Case in point, outside the main university, there's a statue locals call Gary Potter. Officially, it's just a student statue, but the hour kinda gives it away. Something we didn't know before coming here is that many locals don't really like the name Transnistria. It was mainly used by the Moldovan side, and people prefer the original name Pridnestrovi or PMR, so locally, using that instead shows respect for their identity. Later, our guide buys us a cup of kvass, a fermented drink made from rye bread. Then we headed to the Dniester River. We parked our car on a platform, and two men pulled the whole thing across the river with a rope. It's old school, but it works, and it's probably the most eco-friendly car river crossing you'll ever see. We drove from Tiraspol to the village of Kitskany, where we stopped at a surprisingly elegant building, complete of course with another Lenin statue. This is a house of culture. Back in the Soviet days, places like this were the center of community life, hosting everything from dance classes to film nights. Today, it still looks to be operating. There's a small museum on the site which managed to fit an impressive amount inside. The docent, who also teaches at a local school, walked us through the exhibits with so much enthusiasm it made the place come alive. By the way, Kitskany isn't just a sleepy village, it's historically significant. The Kitskany Heights Memorial marks where in 1944, Soviet troops launched an attack to push Axis forces out during World War II. Featuring the graves of soldiers, it represents the sacrifices made during an important time in PMR's history. Another thing we enjoyed during our trip was spotting socialist realism mosaics and paintings. They preserve and reflect the ideas of that era, of hard work, duty, and very traditional roles for men and women. What's unique is just how many of these artworks are still up compared to other parts of Europe. Next, we visited Noul Neamț, an all-male Orthodox monastery near Bender. It's the largest religious complex in PMR with beautiful churches, a lovely bell tower, and a long history dating back to 1861. The monastery has 4 churches, but 2 are the main highlights. The oldest is the Assumption Church, built when monks from Neamț Monastery in Romania founded the site. During the Soviet era, it was shut down and used as a hospital, only reopening in 1989. The Holy Ascension Cathedral was added later as a summer church to accommodate more people. Painted in pink, white and cream, it almost looks like a candy house from the outside. Usually in a site like this, there would be tons of tourists. But here, we were the only ones. After a warm and delicious lunch at the local restaurant with our guides, we headed to the final stop of our trip, Bender Fortress. This is a 16th century citadel on the Dniester River. Built by the Ottomans, it's seen battles between Ottomans, Russians, Moldovans, and others over the centuries. It immediately impressed us with how clean and carefully restored it is, nothing like the crumbling ruins we've seen backpacking around this part of Europe. You can walk along the walls and imagine what life was like for soldiers here. Inside, there are small exhibits to explore and a creepy reconstructed torture chamber that shows the darker side of the fortress's history. The best part is climbing the tower for a panoramic view of the city and the Dniester River. Before you go, I wanna say that yes, you can definitely explore PMR on your own. However, having a local guide made a big difference for us, as we had limited time. Most people here speak Russian, which we don't, so it felt safer and more comfortable to have someone showing us around. It also saved us a lot of time figuring out where to go, and having a guide meant we got to ask questions about what life is really like here. Before visiting the PMR, we spent a day in Moldova's capital, Chisinau, the least visited European capital. If you are curious what it's like, click here to watch our video.